Your home is inexcusable, I know, but I do feel very strongly about these things, and I can't stand hypocrisy, especially in myself. I couldn't just sit there and pretend.
Good night, Miss Fletcher.
But why not?
Oh, it's not worth it.
You must like it in here.
I hate it.
Well then?
Don't be silly, Jane. It's just that... Oh, well, I want to finish with all this coming in these places. If I escape, well... Anyway, you never get away with it.
Look, no one expects women to escape. That's why it'll be easy.
And what would you do if you get out? If you get out?
Well, what are you going to do when you get out after rotting in here for another year?
I've got something to look forward to now.
What?
Well, something.
Nothing. You're living in a world of fantasy. Like most of the silly bitches in here.
No, I'm not.
Well, what have you got to look forward to that's so different then?
Doesn't matter.
Promised to marry you or something, has he?
What?
Come off it, love. The art teacher.
I don't know what you mean.
No?
No.
Well, you're not exactly discreet, are you? Gazing into each other's eyes, quiet chats in the corner. You want to watch it, you know. That screw, what's her name, Flaxton. She was looking at you both a bit sussy when we were leaving.
It's not like that.
Oh, stop kidding yourself, love. He's just feeling sorry for you. Or maybe he's just trying to get you into the storeroom to get into your knickers. So you don't want to know then? About escaping?
No, Jane. I don't want to know.
She was lying on the floor, groaning and clutching her stomach. I turned on the ordinary light to see more clearly and immediately called the night duty officer.
I arrived within a few minutes, unlocked the door, and Sister and I helped her onto her bed. I noticed she was cold and clammy, and my eye caught a tin of metal polish half hidden under the table. I rang Dr. Mays at once.
Why didn't you call me?
It was thought best not to disturb you at that hour, madam, until Dr. Mays had seen her.
I see.
After all, Mr. Radley was here.
Nevertheless, if this ever happens again, you must call me immediately, no matter what the hour is.
Very good, madam. I am holding a full investigation to find out how that tin of metal polish got left there.
When was the last time that you saw and spoke to her, Doctor?
The day before yesterday.
Why was that?
Well, I took the morning sick parade as usual. The rest of the day I had to spend at a conference.
How was she?
Well, if anything, a little better, more responsive. At least she was talking.
What about?
About being oil for the machine.
Oil?
I'm sorry. She saw that as an analogy for her situation.
How very depressing.
Well, yes, it was, but paradoxically, I looked on it as an improvement. At least she was beginning to communicate.
I see. Well, as you all know, I have to send a written report to the Home Office enclosing your reports. Now, what we have to assess here and what I have to decide upon is whether it was more along the lines of attention-seeking or whether it was a determined effort to commit suicide.
I don't think we ought to rule the idea of attention-seeking out of hand. We have had quite a few similar cases.
See, there's nothing in her past record to indicate that she'd behave in any adverse way, apart from continually absconding. There are certainly no suicidal tendencies.
So you don't think it was a serious attempt, then?
Well, I know that she was depressed, but... No, not in my opinion to the extent of making her suicidal.
She was due to come up in court very soon. Maybe it was the thought of that precipitated it.
Yes. Perhaps she just couldn't face it again. Does that surprise you, Doctor? Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Jenkins, isn't it?
Yes.
How do you do? I'm Mrs. Boswell.
The governor.
Yes. Oh, that's very good. Very good indeed. Isn't it, Mr. Jenkins?
Yes, it is very good.
Don't you think so, Mrs. Armitage?
Oh, I don't claim to know much about painting, madam, but it certainly looks very nice.
How long have you been painting, Isabel?
Oh, well, I've only ever done it since I've been inside, madam.
Really? Oh, a talent like that deserves every encouragement. Don't you agree, Mr. Jenkins?
Oh, yes.
I believe I met a friend of yours the other night.
Oh, who?
Joyce Fletcher.
Oh, yes, we were at art school together.
She seems to think that we don't do enough to encourage creative work in Stone Park. What do you think?
Well, Joyce has rather strong views on most things.
No, what I meant was, do you think that we do enough?
I'm afraid I'm biased.
Apart from these classes, we do allow them to do creative work in their cells, in their spare time, if they wish.
And there's always the Arthur Koestler Awards each year.
Yes, but is that enough?
Well, there was a time, Mr. Jenkins, when they didn't even get that. Oh, hello, Jane. How are you doing?
All right, thanks, madam.
I saw Miss Clark the other day. She's been to see your husband. I'm afraid he isn't finding it very easy to cope without you, you know. But the children are quite well.
Yes, madam. Miss Clark told me.
So I wouldn't object to you having a welfare visit if you wanted one.
Oh, thanks, madam.
However, make a formal application in the morning.
Oh, I will, madam.
And the children?
Next door neighbour's looking after them for me for a couple of hours.
Good. I'm afraid I'll have to hover about, but I can see all right from out here.
Thanks, Miss Clark.